Good afternoon and welcome to our session. We're going to start in a minute, but as you're joining us, if you would like to write in the chat who you are, where you're joining us from, and then perhaps also have a think about where is the grammar in this. We've shared an image here with you, and perhaps you might like to share an idea or two about where you think the grammar is here. And then we're going to start in a minute. Thank you.
It's like waiting for your class to file in, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Thank you for the first participants who are writing in the chat. That's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Definitely do use the chat. And if you can be looking at this beautiful image, which Judith has sourced, and just be thinking perhaps a little abstract kind of way for a Friday afternoon, where's the grammar in this image? And welcome everyone. Thank you for signing up and coming on a Friday afternoon.
We've got some great ideas already here. Thank you for joining us. I can see we've got teachers joining us from Newbury, from North Surrey, from Switzerland, from Bath, from Radford, and loads of ideas about the image here. So plurals, gender, comparisons, verb conjugations, prepositions, plurals, formal, informal, other pronouns. Yes. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. That's wonderful.
It is wonderful. That's great. That's great. We love a bit
color agreements as well. Just came in. Great.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
We've got more people joining from also from Spain, from Jersey, from Portugal, from Germany. Thank you for joining us today. That's wonderful.
Yes, thank you. And I'm sure you've had a wonderful morning so far with Language Show Live. And obviously, thank you for coming up, signing up and coming to our session. There's sessions after this and all day tomorrow and Sunday too. There's so much on offer. But the amazing thing is, which is incredible and such generosity, that you have access to this for weeks afterwards. So talk about super CPD. It's going to be fantastic. So we hope you enjoy this session. And thank you for signing up and coming and watching it if you're watching it later.
So shall we make a start?
I think we should make a start. I think we should make a start. But for those people that are just coming and kind of thinking what's happening, because they won't see the chat that's already happened, Judith asked a question. We're not starting, but just where is the grammar in this image? So if you've got any ideas of this beautiful polar bear family in this rather incredible winter kind of, scene, just drop them in the chat. A little bit of abstract thought for you on Friday afternoon / lunchtime.
Wonderful. We've got loads and loads of ideas coming in.
Amazing.
Excellent. So we'd like to really warmly welcome you again to the session today on the grammar adventures using authentic materials.
So we've still got people coming into the room. So thank you all for joining us and thank you for coming this lunchtime. We hope you've got your lunch with you and thank you for signing up or watching this later on. I'm Krista Hazel, and with me co-piloting this session is the rather wonderful Dr. Judith Reifzer, who it's an absolute privilege to have as my co-pilot in this session today.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have been working on this project with Krista. And today we'd like to share with you a few insights into the work that we've been doing together and share some examples that hopefully you'll be able to take into your classrooms or that might spark an idea of what you could bring to your pupils or what you could develop further. And hopefully it will also also allow you to discuss with other participants here. Please also feel free to reach out to us. We always love to hear from you, to hear how we can develop our work further and how we can support you as well. So thank you.
I've just noticed a lovely little thumbs up that people are doing. That's very sweet. It's quite nice to have. So we were told just by the wonderful Jonathan, who's I don't know how he's managed to put on this incredible 3-day conference, just to kind of allow people to come in gently. But what do you think, Judith? Do you think we should get going, or do you think we need to hold on a couple more minutes?
I think we can make a start. Let's get going.
Cool. Okay. Brilliant.
So this is us here again. As said, please feel free to reach out to us. We always like to hear from you and share ideas. We really want to help develop the languages community, and we both work for the Association for Language Learning that is supporting languages teachers and trainers around the country here. And as you can see, Krista, do you want to briefly say something about the discount code?
Oh yeah, we thought, you know, we can't attend an event when and not just find a discount code for people to use. So if you are not a member, or if you're a member and you're imminently about to renew, there's a code at the bottom of the screen there, LSL, which 10, which gives you, sorry, it's LSL 22, not 10. I've put that in wrong, I'm so sorry. So it's LSL 22 for a 10% discount code. I'm sure I've changed that on the later slide, but it is for 10% discount. So if you're not a member, or you are a member, or you know, you're perhaps a lapsed member, please do use that membership code. So LSL 22, and it'd be wonderful to have you back. Both Judith and I met through the association, and it's something that has been a part of my life, even from when I was a trainee, so quite a long time, and it's always been there for me. So it's a thing that we both have in common, I think.
Yeah.
So yes, right then, should we crack on with our Menti, Judith?
Mm-hmm.
So next slide then, we've got a what is grammar question. Now, if you were here a few sort of 5, 6, 7 minutes ago, you would have most probably seen this image. So you warmed up your brains and we asked you where was the grammar in this image. And if you were here, then you will have been able to populate the chat with lots and lots of different things. But if you weren't, don't worry, because we've got another thing to help warm up your brains, because it's always quite good when we're talking about grammar to make sure that we warm each other up, as for want of a better phrase. So what Judith and I would really love you to do is to go to menti.com, and the code is 32421119, and we'd just like you to put a word in there about what is grammar to you. Now, I suspect if I was in a class of, I don't know, Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4 students, and I said to them, what is grammar? They might turn around and say to me, oh, hard. They'll make that sound and then go, oh, it's hard. But we would just be really interested to see your perspective and to see what you are coming up with. So hopefully that's working. I'll just flip screens and hopefully we should be able to see. Here we go. Oh, yes, there we go. So we can see quite a few people putting already structure, rules, understanding, architecture. That's beautiful. Arranging words, the glue. Oh, I love that. A good trustful friend, rules about language. Someone's put patterns. Someone's put tools to show my opinion. That's brilliant. Oh, someone's put fun. Yes. Fun. I love it. I'm so excited. That's great. That's great. I actually didn't think I'd see that, but I'm really pleased that I have. Someone's put my passion. Oh, we need to connect with this person, Judith, because that's really exciting. Someone's also put in there cement, stepping stones, scaffolding, verbs, loving it, decoding a language, etc. Now keep putting those in, and you know, I think I allowed everyone to have like 5 goes at it. So put as much in. Judith and I will share this afterwards. We're just really interested to see what you think grammar is, because I think it's just really, really important to get an understanding about what you think grammar is before we kind of carry on, really. So thank you so much for that.
And feel free to also write in the chat if you cannot access the Menti. Please
Absolutely.
also write there. We've had a couple of contributions here as well. So please keep them coming.
Brilliant. Absolutely. And that's through the entire session. If there's something that you think, oh, yes, I didn't think about that earlier, then most definitely do that. So if you want to take a screenshot of the Menti code, then do. Alternatively, you can just drop them in the chat and Judith and I can pick those up. So we thought it would be really interesting to give you as participants a voice, if you like, to just either with single words or short phrases, just to kind of say what you think grammar is, because in languages, we bang on about this a lot. We really do talk about it a lot. Some people more than others. Some people believe in explicit grammar teaching. Some people don't. You know, it's almost like a minefield, but in a good way. And Judith and I just wanted to have that conversation. And as part of our session today, you know, talking about grammar adventures using authentic resources, because certainly me, and I'm sure Judith feels the same, otherwise we probably wouldn't be here doing a session on grammar. We are quite interested in grammar. We have some strong opinions about grammar for our classrooms and our settings with our learners. So, but we don't want it to be the like boring stuff. We want it to be the cool stuff. We want our kids to, when we say grammar, for them to not go, oh, hard, which is exactly what I said to you a few moments ago. We want them to have an adventure with grammar. And the person that said my passion, fun, I mean, oh, big heart back to you, because that is exactly how I feel too. And interestingly, looking at it from a different perspective and through the use of real authentic resources, that's what we want to share with you today. And as Judith said at the very start, we want you to go away with some ideas of things. And we're going to take you through this presentation that we've got. We've got some ideas and different aspects that we want to share with you, but all of which using authentic resources. So without further ado, we should probably crack on, really, Judith, shouldn't we?
Yes, let's go.
There we go.
So just briefly, we thought to think about communicative competence and where grammatical competence sits within this. Now, Canale and Swain have done a lot of work around thinking about communicative competence and have come up with these sort of skills and knowledge areas that we should develop with our learners. And we've got here, as you can see, grammatical competence, discourse competence, sociolinguistic competence, and strategic competence. So interestingly, Canale and Swain, when they developed this framework, they highlighted that grammatical competence encompasses, according to them, not only a competency in verbal and non-verbal linguistic code. So it's not only about knowing the words and rules and how to form sentences and utterances, but they said grammatical competence also involves vocabulary, as well as morphological, semantical, syntactical, phonetic, and orthographic knowledge. Then thinking about how does this then hang together with the other competences? Well, they say that all these different competences are interconnected. And Krista and I strongly agree with this. So what is sociolinguistic competence? So they define it as using the appropriate language in a given context. And then strategic competence is this strategic knowledge that you have when language breaks down. So strategic competence describes how, for example, to talk around to explain something when you don't know the word. And I think we all know that that is a real skill, how to make yourself understood when you don't know a word, right? And then discourse competence Canale worked on this specifically, is needed to be able to decode a text through this combination, this putting the, like somebody said in the chat, the Lego bricks together, or somebody said about sort of knitting a sweater. So discourse competence is needed as well to combine the rules that is form and meaning together. And as you can see in this image, all of these different competencies are interconnected to develop this knowledge and these skills. Now, another aspect that I haven't spoken about yet that you can see here is intercultural competence. And Michael Byram has done a lot of work, also, for example, in collaboration with Michaela Wagner, around the importance of intercultural competence and how that needs to be added to these other sets of competences to develop a learner's knowledge and skills, and to really give them a well-rounded experience of language learning and how they can become more independent, autonomous learners who can then also develop their knowledge both inside but also outside the classroom. Yeah. Okay, Krista, do you want to?
Yeah, interestingly for me, I always thought, and I never knew where I picked this up from, but I know exactly where it is now. From my university years, I did a 5-year B.Ed a very long time ago. And I remember always feeling that, yes, vocabulary was very important. That's like the bricks. And someone said it earlier in the chat and on the Menti that, you know, it's the cement, it's the stuff that holds it together. And yes, vocabulary is very important, but as we know from the wonderful game there, that actually Jenga, it, you know, once you start removing things and when you start adding things, one slight knock and it all falls apart. And the one thing about grammar is we want our students in our classroom to learn and know vocabulary, but also be able to do something with it. And I love this term that Judith, you've just mentioned, because, you know, it came from the chat about grammar being like Lego. Lego, you get all these different bricks and you want to build it together. You equally don't want a perfect model all the time, because you want students to be able to pick it apart, manipulate it, add some different things that make it unique, make it their own. And thinking about, I've always thought, you know, it's the bricks and mortar, it's the bricks and mortar. Well, you know, it's Meiring and Norman who said that many years ago, and I remember it even now to this very day. And it may not look really beautiful and neat like this image on the right, and it's going to look a bit messy when you give it to students. You know, it is going to look like they're going to slap some, you know, too much grammar perhaps in there. And there's maybe going to be some holes, as you can see in that central image right there. But you know what? If we get students to use grammar, to understand grammar, it may be messy, but you know what? They're using it. And it's not just going to be a tower of vocabulary and just words that they can learn and that they know that they can repeat and they can say, but they can't necessarily string them together. And we want them to be able to build something beautiful, be it in Lego or bricks. And it may look messy and it may be a bit holy, but you know what? It doesn't have to be perfect. Communication is not about being perfect all of the time. But, you know, that quote about grammar and bricks and mortar and it being, you know, it has just stayed with me forever. And I just think it's so important that we make sure that our students know that grammar is important, but they don't go, ugh. You know, we want to make it memorable and meaningful and motivational and accessible for everyone, so people can take the perhaps perfect model that we give them at the start of the lesson, but break it apart and create something more beautiful with what they want to say, rather than this rote learning, rather than just using what perhaps as teachers we always give them.
And we've had a really great question in the chat as well that I'd just like to briefly go back to. And that is, there was a question about context. And here, so sociolinguistic competence relates to using appropriate language in a given context, but all of these are really interconnected. And we know this from our classrooms about how really when we're not teaching these independently, but we're continuously actually supporting the development of these different competences. And this is really one of the main arguments that we would like to make about how the use of authentic materials can support the development of grammatical competencies, but also supports the development of these other competencies at the same time. So thank you for your questions. Please keep them coming. So here we've got a little activity for you. We thought we'd like to make a start. And here we're thinking about questions. I don't know about you and how you feel with your learners, but I've often had this experience that pupils often know the answers. They know how to say the answers, but then they forget how to make questions. And of course, in different languages, making questions works in different ways. So we would like to ask you now to ask a question. I can only answer with a yes or no. So can you come up with a simple question that you would like to ask me? And there is a picture beneath, and we're trying to figure out what the picture is. You have a maximum of 20 questions, otherwise I will win. So give it a go. What is your question?
Are you a living thing?
Fantastic. So we've got, is it an animal? No, it is not.
Are you a living thing, says Agnese.
No, I'm not a living thing. Shall we reveal the first one? Because I think those are some great questions. So we're going to reveal the first element.
That'll help a few people maybe. Oh,
Yes.
Natalie is onto something maybe.
Yeah.
And so Samantha maybe. Yoshito too.
Yeah, so we've got, are you a building? Yes, I am a building. Are you fictional? No, I'm not fictional. And here we've only given you a couple of images. Of course, if you're doing this activity, make smaller squares so you can reveal every time there is a good question asked, whether it is answered with yes or no, you can award for the correct usage of a question and then reveal more. We've just made it a little bit harder to get you to engage a bit more and work a bit harder on this. Is it a famous building? Well, I guess it is famous to those that live there because they know it, but it's not a very famous building. Does someone live there? Yes, someone lives there. Shall we reveal an extra one? Because there's so many fantastic questions coming in. Are you showing in multiple places? Yes, this building is shown in multiple places. It might look differently in different places. Is it a hotel? Oh, fantastic. It is, yes, it is similar to a hotel. It is a place where tourists come. Shall we open it up one more? It is not in the Alps, but it is a place for guests to come. Are you in Switzerland? No, not in Switzerland. We're getting closer. Somebody said, is it in Argentina? It is not in Argentina, but it is in South America. Yeah, shall we reveal the last one? Do you know where it is? It is not in Chile. It is also not in Bolivia. It is in a country that starts with a P. Yes, fantastic, excellent. Yes, it is in Peru. And as you can see, you might spot that there's different flags there. I don't know if you can see an Austrian flag there as well, and a German flag. Yeah, so this is an image taken from a village in Peru called Pozuzo. And in 1859, Austrian and German immigrants went to this village in Peru, and traces of the culture are still to be seen there. So this is an example for you of how you can use an image and how you can facilitate the development of questioning, the revision of questioning techniques with your pupils.
We love it because it just promotes curiosity, and the questions you were asking and the way you engaged was just exactly like the perfect class. We love the fact that you've engaged and really done this, and this is quite a simple thing to do. Just find some nice images and remember which images you use if you use this activity again with different classes, because they might be like, we know this, but yes, brilliant.
And it's also a way to teach them about the fact that German is not only spoken in the countries that they perhaps associate German language and German culture with, but it actually traces of different cultures are found around the world. And that then also helps us as teachers to then open also a conversation about migration, about immigration, and supports our decolonizing of the curriculum as well.
Absolutely, absolutely brilliant. Now, moving on from this wonderful image to something that you hopefully you've all got to, well, you can hear us, that's great. I've got something I want to show you, and I just want you to listen to this, and I'd like you to just listen to the sounds, maybe even listen to the music, and what I'd like you to try and work out and answer in the chat. Can you tell me what language you think you are listening to? Now, I say that, I know I've got it somewhere. Here we go. There we go, not there, this one right here. So I hope that you can hear it. Might take a little while to kick in. Now, I could play all of this to you, and if you don't already know this, then, and I know some of you do, some of you are saying Gaelic, some of you are saying Irish, some are said Breton, you know, and you know, it is one of also my favourite singers as well, and I do love this. Someone said Dutch as well. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Something Eastern European. Music is a wonderful thing, and one of our colleagues at the Association for Language Learning, Stephen Fawkes, has written a brilliant book about how to use songs in lessons. To engage, well, to use an authentic song, whether it's French, German, Spanish, Italian, Albanian, someone's just said Dutch, Breton, whatever it is, you can use song to really excite and engage learners, perhaps like I've done with you, guess what language it is. Now, the singer Gwenno is an incredibly talented woman who's actually Welsh, but none of you thought that it was Welsh, and some of you were actually right, and you probably know the song and it's brilliant. She's singing in Cornish because she's a Welsh lady who also sings in Cornish. That's her heritage, and she's very proud of them both. So that entire song, of which the link is there, and do check out her music because it is incredible. You can just use to make students think about what can they hear, not just what language is it, but also what words can you hear. Now, Now, interestingly, we can also make the point about jargon in songs, slang, dialects, and also let's think about phonics too. And if we teach our learners phonics, and we know when they have to do listening activities, there's this huge long string and they kind of look around because you see them and it's kind of almost coming up to mock season, isn't it now? And they look around as if to say, can anybody actually hear this? Well, one of the things we can do is just play a music video, play some, get them to work out the language. What can they hear? And before, actually, when I've done this in the classroom, I don't even show the visuals. I get students to just think and really listen about what, to try and work out, pick up a few things. They might pick up single words, they might not. Now, obviously, this is Cornish, and you may not know any Cornish. I don't. I sing along to this song in the car and in the house when I'm alone. Don't worry, I'm not going to do it now. But it's something that we can do. Now, the lyrics are here for you, and you could, there's no reason why when playing this song you couldn't then perhaps give students the lyrics too, and then kind of say to them, what can you pick out, what can you see? Now again, this is Cornish, so you might not know what the song's about, and I certainly didn't play enough of it to maybe even give you a clue. But you could, there's no reason why you certainly couldn't, present that, let them listen to it. But also parallel text has been a big thing, hasn't it, over the last however many years. So there's no reason why you couldn't present that and ask students then to kind of say, okay, we've got various different words here. Can we listen to it again? Can we see? And actually they've got the translation, because I think if you're a curious linguist, you always want to know what it actually says. And this is a song about land and sea. And as I've said before, it's a beautiful song. It's great. But, you can have a look at word order. This here, the rider of the winds is dancing. The rider of the winds, do we say that? Well, which other language then would we see that in, this word order? And it's something just to be, just to be mindful of. We've also got the present tense, is dancing, is flying. But what about making it then perhaps a future tense? And we could say to our learners, well, what tenses can you see? All of this is in the present tense, but okay, let's flip it. Let's make it future, conditional, past perfect, etc. We've also got capitalization of nouns here within the Cornish, and we've also got some within the English. What could the rules of that be? Where else do we see that? And, this is something to be mindful of, that students can pick these things out and actually whether it's correct or not correct. Now, obviously, I don't know enough about Cornish, but what I do know about the languages that I teach is that students need to be very mindful. And it's not just at the start of sentences where capitalization occurs. Obviously, we've got activities where we can add things, build things, and sort of add challenge. We could add alliteration. And we could also kind of say, well, what could we do to make this better? Because this song is quite repetitive. Well, it's a song, but, for our learners, because we've created this incredible model here, or have this naturally from the wonderful Gweno, we can say, well, let's have a look. How can we make this better? So what else can we do? In our success criteria in year 8, year 9, year 6, we need to be able to do X, Y, Z. So this song doesn't do it, so what can we add to it? And, we want to get students kind of make this better. Now, I'm not saying this song is any less than brilliant, of course, but how can they make it better? How can they develop it? And again, we're looking at the grammar. And then we're asking them to apply their knowledge and be creative. It could be adding adjectives, agreement, word order, placement, intensifiers, justification. We could, we've not even asked the question, what do you think about this song? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Gamify it with something like noughts and crosses like this, so we can get them to add adjectives. Now, obviously, we've got retrieval practice grids and various things, but why don't we use some of those activities as well with a song like this? So we can ask students to go back and identify the verbs within that, or change the connectives. How many connectives were there? Who is the rider of the winds? And ask them to be creative and describe this person. Could they come up with any phonics rules from what they've heard? And I didn't play enough of that song for you to have picked up any. But, if we're thinking about our classrooms, and if we're teaching our learners Arabic or Punjabi or Urdu, we can find beautiful, beautiful songs. And we could, with the lyrics there, and we can just do something really incredible, but with a real focus on grammar. And this is authenticity, if you like, at its finest. And we're bringing music into the classroom. And instead of just, doing something which perhaps how we learnt grammar, how Judith and I learnt grammar, which was not always very stimulating and not necessarily very exciting. It is something very serious and important, but we could do interesting and fun things. And equally, it doesn't just have to be, it could just be, can you roll your R's too? In the song, that's exactly what Gweno does. But equally, there are languages that we have to do, and it's just a bit of fun, but there's a real focus on listening and extending creativity, but grammar too.
And then that leads us on to also thinking about how we can talk about grammar in context. And here, sometimes we hear Harris, Birch, and Altry, and also Colin Christie, they use the idea of grammar gossip. So actually getting the learners to be really excited about giving their opinion about what is going on in terms of grammar, how it functions within the language that they're learning, but also to build bridges between different languages. We've got some great examples in the chat about where you as wonderful participants have actually made connections between the languages that you know and the song that Krista was just talking about. And this is something that we really want to encourage in our learners as well. And then to get them really to discuss grammar with each other and to think, yes, I agree with that. And this is what I think. And really to allow all pupils to have fun with exploring grammar like it is an adventure, like they're going on a treasure hunt. And we've shown you here an example that hopefully sparks also just not one correct answer, but gives the pupils an opportunity to, independent of their level of language, to engage with this and to discuss what they think the odd one out, for example, here is. Yeah. And then that leads me on really to the next activity that we'd like to do with you. And that is to think about how we can engage our pupils with all their senses in the learning, because we know that by getting all their senses engaged, they will remember better. They will remember this as an experience. They will remember the words better. It also helps them with their mental health, with their perception of their own body, to make the link between mind and body and not see them as sort of separate entities, and really to also experience themselves and treasure their own lived experience. So I'd like to invite you now to listen carefully. And but there is a challenge. I would like you to not only write down what you think you hear, but I'd also like you to think about, just by experiencing this, what do you think you would be able to smell if you were there? What would you be able to taste if you were there? What would you be able to touch if you were there? And we haven't given you any scaffolding here, because this is really an activity that pupils could do independent of the language they're speaking. But you can also adapt this, of course, with scaffolding to use in your specific classroom. So think about all your senses and then write a couple of ideas down.
Du weißt, was es drin gibt? Ja! Die sind aber nicht für dich. Hä? Na gut, hier hast du eins, aber den Rest brauche ich. Bitte. Lass es dir schmecken. Hallo, ich bringe euch Kekse.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for all these wonderful ideas in the chat, where you wrote about you can smell, smell cumin, for example, or smoke. Yeah. Really, really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And hopefully you enjoyed this experience as well. Shall I tell you where the sound file is from? Would you like to know?
I think it'd be unfair if you didn't.
Oh, okay. So this is from a short film called Bango Vasil. It's a Bulgarian-German co-production. It's a short animation film. It's accessible in, you can watch it in Bulgarian or in German. And it tells the story of a young Roma and her experience of sharing the tradition of when New Year's Eve is celebrated by the Roma community. It's a short film I've been using with the work I've been doing at the BFI, the British Film Institute. I'll put the name of the short film in there as well. And I've just watched it with a couple of hundred Key Stage 4 pupils, and they've really loved it. Many of them said that this was their favorite film. So here again, a way to use authentic resources to develop their grammar competencies, but also to bring in all their other knowledge and to give them a sense of achievement also, that they know they have their own ideas, they have their own experiences, and these are all a valuable part of themselves and are valuable in our classrooms.
Now, one of the things I want to talk to you about, and if you are in primary, you might know of this beautiful, beautiful book, okay? La Couleur des Émotions, and I love it. And I think it's down to, I'm trying to think who first showed me this book. I think it was the wonderful Natalie Paris, and it's absolutely beautiful. You probably can't see because I've blurred it now. If you take, this is one scan of a text very, very quickly, you can be thinking about, Key Stage 2 activity. What can you do with this book that you read, and how can you engage and let them think about grammar? Well, what about a trapdoor activity? You can do a lovely trapdoor activity looking at the grammar. We can have a little look here. And if you were to type in the chat, and I'm acutely aware of time, we've got things like masculine, feminine, le, la, we've got plurals, we've got third person here, we've got first person, we've got reflexives, word order. We could think about, would we do that at Key Stage 2? Adjectival agreement, body parts, so vocabulary, punctuation, capital letters, accents, spag, sentences, paragraphing, etc. And actually, in terms of that text, we could then, if we were reading the story, we could then do a trapdoor activity where we get students to choose. Now, we could do this with Key Stage 3. Maybe with a book, maybe with a different book. It's entirely up to you. And this just helps students then. These, obviously, I'm thinking about this trapdoor, we're engaging our students in grammar without terrifying them or alienating them or making them wince a bit. It's a fun story that they know, and they have to choose, but they have to apply logic. So trapdoor with nouns and genders, plurals, or logic. Why not? And it's just a really nice, fun thing to do. And there's a link at the bottom, and some of this language is quite complex, but on the author's webpage, she's got lots of flashcards, free flashcards that you can download to talk through those emotions to help your work with this particular book. And again, it's just a way of helping them and not alienating them from grammar.
And similarly, engaging with poems, with riddles and rhymes is a way to get pupils of all different levels and of different key stages to access authentic texts, to also learn a meaningful text by heart, and then to be able to recite it, to perform it in front of their families, their friends, and to really make it their own, and perhaps to then also develop their own writing skill, to develop their own short poems. And here we've got an example about the new year. It's a poem by Gianni Rodari, an Italian poem. And we've also included here the author actually reading the poem read that is by the author, but read by Manuel Cavalieri, to then also get the pupils to listen to these poems. And poems are also really great in order for pupils to develop the grapheme-phoneme connection. So to see how it looks, but also how it sounds, and then how do we pronounce it to make these connections. And as you can see here from this poem, it's an authentic poem, but there are so many words here that pupils pupils can know already. For example, the days of the week that they might already know, whilst for pupils at a much higher level in Key Stage 5 at A level, they can then think about, well, what is it about the new year? What do I wish for myself? What is it with this tradition that we try to make New Year's resolutions? Or how is New Year celebrated in different countries around the world? The calendar is different in different countries. Why is this so? So to really engage them in different ways.
Brilliant, love it. And then I picked up this whenever I travel. I always try and pick up little graphic novels, even though I'm not necessarily in my own school now. And I picked up this one, and as you can see, it was only €10. She says with the blood bit. It's a really beautiful graphic novel, bit more grown up in parts of it, but there's no reason why you couldn't take a graphic novel, you know, something, a bande dessinée, and use this in your class. If we're thinking Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4, it's less dense. It's we could ask them to do translation. We could get them to look at words they know, words they don't know. Again, look at tenses, look at inference when they're translating something. And we've got here on this left page of this scan, we've got here, you know, some fairly dense-ish text, but we've also got some colloquialisms too. You know, there's some nice things there. Then on this right page, we've got something that's totally blank. So we could have what's come before, what's going to come afterwards. What is this random letter? What can they see? So again, questions. We've then got, you know, what's happening here? They could be investigative. And we're slowly... if we go back to the first page and look at translation, or indeed look at the letter in the first image of that second page, you know, what can they work out? Let's have a look at the details. If they, you know, we can see airmail, we can see Dubai. Oh gosh, where's this going? Why does the letter then go in the drawer? What do you think? Could be lots of questions. Go back to the first page. Let's have a look at gist, detail. And we're slowly withholding kind of scaffolding and just rather than a word for word translation, because it doesn't work like that. We want it to sound natural, and they can see it in a natural setting and something that's, you know, perhaps cooler than a traditional grammar book. But of course, we're linking back to the grammar because it's important, and they're seeing it in a real authentic setting.
And that just leads us to the end of the session to think about the power really of grammar and unlocking the power of grammar competence, and thinking about the ideas of interleaving, of spacing, of blocking, of developing these grammar competence over time, of ensuring that our pupils reinforce their knowledge, that they are engaged and that they're motivated and that they can enjoy and feel successful in their learning.
Now, obviously, we've said we wanted to take you on a grammar adventures using authentic resources, and we have done through images, films, lyrics, short film, video, sound, etc. We've also hopefully evoked your curiosity and given you just a few ideas for a more natural, not an end of the you know, chapter. I've taught for 20 plus years. I've been a student for a long period of time. I've seen lots of grammar books. They tend to look the same. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with this. But if we want to engage our learners and really let them have fun with grammar and have a passion for grammar, then maybe, just maybe, if we use the images, films, poetry, games, riddles, rhymes, whatever we use, hopefully then when it comes to this, they can apply it, they can use it, and they're not fearful of it. We hope that we've given you some ideas. If you've got some more ideas, then please do get in touch with us, because we'd love to share. Thank you so very much from Judith and I for listening, for engaging with us, for coming to our session at lunchtime, and we hope that you have enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being such active, fantastic participants. And if you would like to find out more about our work, and if you'd like to read the chapter on this topic that will be published in the new year, then please use the QR code here, or use the form here that I've just put in the chat, where you can sign up, and then we will only send you information about the upcoming chapter when it is published, so that you can enjoy it as well, and hopefully it will be useful. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of Language Show Live. And at the end of today, the very wonderful and incredible Helen Myers and the wonderful and also very incredible Joe Dale are hosting a show and tell. So definitely get yourself along to that, because there's going to be loads of brilliant ideas. Have a great afternoon and thank you for coming with us. I've just seen a point in the chat about, can we give us the title of the book about songs? I will tweet it. I will tweet it just now. Okay, thanks everyone. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.